Hello, I'm Luke LCS, and today I'm going to be narrating to you the speed paint that I did for the art of Candy the Cat, Popgoes the Weasel, indoors. First off, you can see I already kind of have a bit of the general shape of the background, and I'm just kind of figuring out the armature. So this is usually the first part of the process. I had quite a bit of trouble figuring out how to get Candy situated, and also the entire camera is like at an angle, which made it pretty tricky. Right there I was just kind of double checking that I kind of took the different parts of Popgoes and put them together to see if he was like the correct height of what it should be, to be about the same height as the door, and he was, which is good. Here I had to like extend the size of the canvas just to figure out how Candy should be standing, just because the feet were off screen, and with like the camera tilt and the kind of awkward angle, it just was kind of tough. As you can see, the expressions sometimes in these first doodles look terrible, but then sometimes they actually look better than like the second draft, and then I'm like, oh my god, like the previous version looked good. As you can see, I'm flashing up references on Squeen. On Squeen. I'm just gonna call it Squeen from now on for the rest of the video. I'm flashing. There's a lot, so this is like a 20 times speed. So the ultimate video is like 12 minutes. I probably won't talk for the whole thing, but I will definitely talk in parts. This is the second phase, which is sort of the second part of the drawing, which is the last phase. And as you see, like I changed my brush size several times throughout, for like each stage. Each stage is a smaller brush size, because it's easier to make larger. It's easier to make shapes with a larger brush that are more like smooth. But, you know, of course I want to, as I continue to refine and add more detail, I, you know, lower the brush size. As you can see, I'm kind of messing around with resizing a lot of parts a lot. The whole idea was that Candy was supposed to be pushing that, sort of drawer behind him. I don't really know if it looks like that in the final version, but, you know, it's still, it's good enough, it's fine. As you can see, the expressions still need some work. I several times popped up just to kind of check and make sure that the Roblox quest, it only had like, you know, a short amount of time left, and I just kept checking, like, because I wanted to finish this before the quest was gone. As you can see, I also reshaped the background a little bit from the original 3D that I made. I spent like probably 2 minutes trying to figure out what it should look like, and just went, you know, I'm just going to open Blender and put a few cubes in there just to get the perspective. But I still ended up messing around with a lot of it, and I ended up making the background. I mean, you can't really see a lot of the background anyways, in like the regular drawing, but I ended up making it just this weird twisted thing because that was just easier to make look good than trying to make it look realistic. Just make it weird and like, you know, like reality is bending or something, right? Plus, it's cool. So, finally starting on the outlines. Before I forget, I do want to say that I checked, and all the recordings put together say about 4.5 hours. I think it's like 4 hours, 20 minutes. That's about how long the art took to take. It felt like longer, but that's probably because I took a lot of breaks throughout. The whole thing is actually split into like 4 recordings. As you can see too, like here in the outline phase, like excuse me, got my allergies, so that's fun. But the eyes, which I actually ended up keeping them there, I kind of make little sort of temporary pupils in the eyes during the outline stage, and then come in later and draw the eyes on a separate layer. So now we're finally to the outline stage, and I will use reference layers, but the outlines for the foreground are almost always just on like just one layer. That's just kind of how I tend to do it. I'm spending a lot more time inking here than I really should need to. But that was just what I ended up doing. I don't always end up doing that. This time I ended up spending a bit more time. Inking, I think, is probably about the best word I can really come up with for it. Also, just while we're looking at it, you can kind of see the hands. I went with a very simplistic style here. I said my favorite hands to draw were probably the hands in Majora's Mask, because, like, the fingers were, like, of this weird, like, you know, possessed, you know, sort of undead creature who's also possessed by an evil mask, so, like, you know, I could have fun with it. I could make the fingers bend in weird ways and stuff. So that was a lot of fun, drawing the fingers for that. We just recently crossed into the second recording, so that was the first drawing session. This is, now we're in the second, and there are 2 more after this, so 4 drawing sessions in total. So I tried to pay attention to, like, how the joints looked on both Candy and Popgoes, and try to keep it somewhat accurate. I think I did a pretty good job. So, actually, you know, I feel pretty good about drawing the sort of side profile for Popgoes, because that isn't something I do a lot. Now, as I mentioned, you know, I have only 1 outline layer, but that's just for the characters. I also have another outline layer for the background, as you can see here. And some parts are kind of freestyled, and I'm deliberately making it a little bit wonky looking, just to kind of make it feel more, I don't know, just kind of spoopy, I guess. I decided to have the door that they're going for be number 13, just because, you know, like that, you know, it's like unlucky number. Now we're getting to the coloring stage, so I kind of have several layers. I have the outline, which is at the top, then I do the color layer, the shading layer above that, and then I have the eyes. Sometimes, if I'm drawing like a fictional woman, I might have another layer that's just for, like, the blush. But that's usually what I tend to stick to. Color layers usually don't have blending, but I did kind of do things a little differently here for Candy, just kind of with the shape of the, not the shape of the head, but like, I mean, you can kind of see, right? But usually the base colors are just solid lines, which I use with the pencil tool, as opposed to the brush tool. So that's kind of what I do. I do it this way. But it would be nice if I could just, like, highlight the area inside the outline. And, like, I mean, realistically, I probably could. But, like, you know, if I get the settings just right. But, this is just a lot more consistent because I know exactly where the boundaries of the color layer are. I don't... Okay. Ignore the weird grammar of that sentence. It's a little more time consuming, but it tends to produce more consistent results. So, speaking of consistency, I forgot a section of the outline, so that's cool. A few sections in there. But I'm you know, it's coming together. All good. So, you know, we kind of got the color for all those areas down. And the door in the very back is indeed door 100 if you were curious. So, there's that. There's the eyes. The eye style I went with is a little bit different here. And you notice I didn't erase... Like, I think I tried to see how it looks. But I don't end up erasing the little temporary bits, and I just keep them as part of the eyes. So... You know, it's a little bit of a different eye style than I usually do, but pretty similar. And again, like, I just keep the eyes around there. I mean, hey, you can actually see in the lower right, you can see all the layers. So, yeah, I'm just kind of checking there exactly what the characters look like. So. Um. Oh, we are currently in the. We're over halfway through the third session here, drawing session. You know, recording. Because like I took breaks, but I like paused. I didn't pause. I stopped the recording, left, and then came back and started recording again. Luckily, I didn't forget. I made sure to keep it recording. Yeah, those beams were a little too intense, so I ended up going without them. The shadows actually have like 3 layers to them. The method for the texture here is really pretty simple. I just kind of did some swirls with a small brush, and wood is really simple. Just do lines and occasional parallel lines. There you go. The wallpaper texture is mostly just parallel lines. Parallel lines. Parallel. Perpendicular. My god, did I called perpendicular parallel, didn't I? Okay. Well, alright. I need to brush up on my geometry. But, so half of you might not even know what either of them are. Though, I mean, actually, realistically, probably more of you have just been learning about them, so you know exactly what they are. But soon enough, you probably will forget. I hope. Otherwise, it's kind of just embarrassing on my part. I'm kind of making these shadows a bit sharper. Oh, and we just passed into the final session here. So we are now in the final bit of working on the drawing. So we're coming pretty close to close. We're finishing up the drawing. Actually, we only have about a minute left. And I still haven't gotten to work on the characters' shading yet, as you can see. But I'm having a lot of fun with the wallpaper. Shading Candy's face was a little bit tricky, just because you have the 2 colors mixed in so closely there. But I think I managed to do it pretty good. I also would select areas of the shading layer, and oh, and by the way, that's the real advantage of the separate. Well, not the. Okay, so basically, I have the color layer, and I select the color layer with like the magic select tool. Basically, you just select the area of the same color, and then I shade. Go back to the shading layer, but I won't color outside of the color layer area. It basically, it just, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe I could just show it sometime. Unless that did make sense, I'm not sure. But basically, it just, I can make sure I don't color outside the lines, because as you can see, only the area surrounding the line is selected, because I selected the color layer. If you go back, you can see, you know, the color layer is like, you know, and I can select it, and it'll just have that area selected. So, yeah, I did again, just like perpendicular lines, sort of like a hashtag pattern type of thing. I did that a lot on both his vest and the wallpaper. You know, this one looked a lot better. It also made it a bit dimmer in some areas as well. And here we have the final result. Honestly, I'm really proud of this. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and have a great day.